Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. Before I get into today's analysis for you, I just want to remind you that I'm in London. I'll be here for a couple of weeks or so, and I want to know if anyone would like to meet up on Saturday in the city. I've found a couple of nice spots, maybe we could meet. Don't let me know in comments. Use the contact form on my website to send me an email letting me know that you'd like to meet up somewhere in the middle of the day, early afternoon on Saturday, and we'll communicate via email to get that sorted. Getting into Bitcoin, because it's moving sideways and it's had some red candlesticks, it's probably a good time to step back and just keep our eyes on the bigger picture. From the low back here in November 2022, there's so very obviously an upward trend, a series of higher highs, a series of higher lows. There are normal to be expected consolidations and pullbacks along the way within bullish trends, and I think that's again what's starting this week. I think we're probably going to see another week or two of sideways, slightly lower movement before the upward trend resumes in order to relieve some extreme conditions. We were expecting some resistance about 51,800, and that's pretty much exactly where we're seeing some consolidations. Not only is this normal to be expected, but we were expecting this. No surprises. I am really skeptical of this crypto compare data showing this massive decline in volume. We do see some decline in volume from other data sources, but not as much as this. But what I do want to focus on is week on week for the last 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of upward movement. We did see volume pushing price higher. Volume and volatility is starting to return to the market. This is very typical of the early to mid stage of a bullish run. At the weekly time frame, ADX now tells us the upward trend is very extreme, but it's not as extreme as it can get for this market when it has a strong bullish trend. And zooming out and looking at the entire price history of Bitcoin with ADX from its inception, you see that ADX can get much more extreme than this, and in fact this look is more akin to before the mid stage of a strong bullish run given Bitcoin's past price behavior. RSI is overbought, but again this as well can get very extreme when Bitcoin has a strong bullish run. There's no pivot developing here, so I'm not going to try and identify any divergence here. You need to wait for a pivot to develop to screen out those times when you see a potential divergence and it just disappears and doesn't yield any downward movement. Money flow is still neutral, so this is a long way to go before it gets as extreme as it can get. And ATR shows a really good increase in range, so volatility is returning to the market. That is exactly what you would expect to see during the early to mid stage of a bullish run. This is not what you would expect to see in a bear market rally. This bull market of the last year or so looks like a bull market. It doesn't look like a bear market rally, and that's why I'm expecting new all-time highs for Bitcoin, and I expect we're probably going to see that maybe end of March, maybe possibly into April. It depends how long this current consolidation is, and it depends if we see another consolidation just before it breaks to new all-time highs. My Elliott Wave count for Ethereum, the bigger picture is extremely bullish. This structure fits within a third wave at intermediate, primary and cycle degree, and now in this time frame you can see the third wave within that at minor, minute, minuet and subminuet degrees. So we've got a third wave developing at 7 degrees, a few of them very large degrees. Intermediate, primary and cycle are large degrees, so there may now be a very strong upward pull from a large third wave, which may force this little second wave correction at subminuet degree to be more brief and shallow. And that's why I'm expecting initially the log function of the 0.236 Fibonacci ratio to provide support for this little pullback, so 2776.99. If price gets down to that first target area and either the structure of subminuet 2 is incomplete or price keeps falling, then our attention should turn to the next area of support, the log function of the 0.382 Fibonacci ratio at 2645.27. I would be rather surprised if it were deeper than that, but if it were, I would expect strong support at the lower edge of this channel. Subminuet 2 technically may not move beyond the start of 1 below 2153.46, but I don't expect it to get anywhere near that point. Daily technicals for Ethereum, it's starting to move sideways. This candlestick pattern for the 21st of February is not a bearish engulfing, but it is a hanging man. It comes in the context of an upward trend, so this is a bearish reversal pattern, but the bullish implication of the long lower wick on a hanging man mean that you need to have bearish confirmation in the next candlestick in order to have confidence that it is indicating a bearish reversal. So that means we need the current candlestick for Thursday 22nd of February to be a red candlestick in order to read this candlestick from the 21st as a bearish reversal, a hanging man. So that makes hanging men basically two candlestick patterns really. If we do see a bearish candlestick for 22nd of February, then look for support about 2,700. Volume has been pushing price higher for Ethereum. Ethereum has a more clearly short-term bullish volume profile than Bitcoin. The candlestick for the 21st of February, that hanging man, had a slight decline in volume. We can't draw any conclusion about the 21st of February because I'm recording this video just before 7 AM in New York time. ADX now tells us for Ethereum the upward trend is extreme, but only just, and it's such a long way to go before it gets into danger territory for this market. ADX can get close to 100. It can get very extreme while this market has a bullish run. RSI is overbought, but there's no short-term bearish divergence to note. Money flow is overbought. There is a pivot developing here. If the candlestick for the 22nd of February closes red, then we'll have a pivot developed on price as well, and then I would identify bearish divergence. So we'll be looking at that for you tomorrow. ATR shows an increase now as price is moving higher. Volatility is returning to this market along with volume. This is typical of a bullish run. This is atypical for a bear market rally. So the movement up for the last year or so for Ethereum also has all of the indications that this is a continuing bull market. It does not look like a bear market rally. This is my preferred Elliott Wave count for XRP. It expects also a third wave up at multiple degrees: minor, intermediate, primary and cycle. So 4 large degrees in its very early stages. Minor wave 3 must move beyond the end of 1, and it has to move far enough above 1 to allow 4 to unfold and remain above wave 1 price territory. Likewise, intermediate 3 must move beyond the end of 1, and it has to move far enough above 1 to allow room for intermediate 4 to unfold and remain above wave 1 price territory. Intermediate 3 and minor 3 may only subdivide as impulses. Within minor wave 2, I'm labeling it a double zigzag, WXY. Within the second zigzag, B, if it's continuing here, it may not move beyond the start of A, so a new high above 0.6236 would tell us that this wave count has a higher probability using the Elliott Wave rule. That's one way you can use Elliott Wave rule to judge probability of your wave count. If minor 2 continues lower, it may not move beyond the start of 1, below 0.4456. The last signal from the moving averages from XRP was a death cross, and the short-term 50-day moving average still remains below the 200. They both have a negative slope. Price is between them, so this is overall a bearish look, but not full bull bearish. XRP is showing more weakness than the other two, but there is some strength up off this low. Volume did start to push price higher, and ATR does show an increase in volatility as price moves up off these lows. There is also this cluster of 6 hammer candlestick patterns. They are all bullish reversal patterns clustering around the lows about 0.4875, and so if we do break below support at 54 cents, I will expect support at 0.4875 or just above actually to be very likely to hold. So after this short-lived upward movement, there's a bearish evening star candlestick reversal pattern. Bearish reversal patterns don't tell you one of two things. They don't tell you what direction the next trend is, which it seems counterintuitive, but it makes sense when you realize there are 3 directions for price: up, down or sideways. Here we've got upward movement, we've got a bearish reversal pattern. It's not telling you if the next direction is going to be sideways or down. And the second thing that reversal patterns don't tell you is how long or what duration the following trend will be. It doesn't tell you if we're going to have a long-term downward trend or a short-lived sideways movement, another word. And so far we're getting a sideways movement. Now we don't know how long this is going to take, but we need to now start to identify resistance and support and wait for a breakout in order to identify the trend returning. And it looks most likely that an upward trend is going to return, so I'll be expecting an upward breakout. Volume was pushing price higher as price moved up to the last short-term high, and now volume is declining as price moves sideways. That's typical behavior for a consolidation, so it does look like XRP is now in a short-term sideways consolidation, which is normal to be expected behaviour. ADX told us the downward trend had reached very extreme, not as extreme as it can get, but still very extreme. ADX is now declining, moving down toward lower levels, and the DX lines are whipsawing. There's no clear trend identified. ATR was showing an increase as price moved higher. Good to see some volatility finally returning to this market. Given that there's no clear trend, as indicated by ADX, reverting to a model of stochastics plus support and resistance. Stochastics reached overbought, price reached resistance about 54-55 cents. Stochastics is now negative, moving down through neutral. Price is moving sideways. Expect overall a downward swing may continue until stochastics reaches oversold and price reaches support simultaneously. Now it could be 0.4875 where price finds support, but it could also just remain about support about 54 cents. We need to see how this consolidation unfolds, but again I expect this is a consolidation within an ongoing new upward trend for XRP most likely. And that's it for me today with your update, and I hope everyone is having a lovely day.